It's a great day in South Carolina. I am Karen, and this is my channel, Zannido Muse, and I am glad you stopped by. I hope you stick around, maybe hit the subscribe button, maybe hit the like button, poke around and see if there's something that might interest you. Usually I do hauls. I'm going to try to get away from the hauls a bit and do more process or tutorials. Anyway, this is a tutorial-ish process video on how to transfer line drawings into, let's say, your art journal. Or is if you find you're flipping through your coloring books, like let's see, I'll pick a kid's one. You come across this mermaid book. This is all going to be mermaids, by the way. And you happen to find this picture and you really want to do something in your art journal on it. So you can follow these techniques and you can get this line drawing into your art journal. Another good example of what this is useful for is if you have like a still life sitting and you're sketching it out, but you don't want to waste your good paper just yet because you're afraid to tear a hole in maybe your watercolor paper or your expensive drawing paper. You can initially draw it on like maybe newsprint or copy paper and tweak it to exactly the way you want it. And you can use this technique to transfer it onto your more expensive paper so you don't have that eraser marks and the smudges and the holes. But you know what I mentioned? The coloring books. These are not our pictures, and we have to recognize that this is somebody else's work. So we cannot sell this, but we can use it for personal use, like in coloring book. Like in art journals. So it is bad form, as Hook says in Hook, to copy and sell. I am hoping to put a PDF on my blog with some notes on how to do this, so you won't have to watch this video again and again, which you probably won't have to anyway, because it's really easy peasy. You're just like, why didn't I think of that type of thing? But I'm going to try to get it up. I know there's a way to put a PDF on a blog. I just have to research it. I did it years ago. I also will have the notes on the blog, so you can just refer to them, and I'll probably have the note in the description box. So if you want to copy paste them and use them. But I'll try to get that PDF for you. Alright, the supplies you will need for this project, it's not really a project, it's a stepping stone to create other projects. It's fairly simple. Anyway, the supplies. You will need the image that you're going to transfer. I'm going to be using the image in this coloring book. I have two mermaid coloring books. Don't ask. I'm going to be using this particular image. It's fairly simple, so yeah. That's the image we're going to use. Your substrate. And I'm going to be using this little art journal as a substrate for the time being. You will need tracing paper. There's several different options of tracing paper. There's the tracing paper that you can buy at the store. I've seen them at Walmart and even drugstores. I've seen them at the big craft box stores like Hobby Lobby, AC Moore, and Michael's. Art stores, and of course tracing paper. It's a little bit more expensive. Not overly expensive, but it's probably about $3 or $4, and you know, it's very small amount. That's the first option. That's the artist option, I guess you'd say. Then you can use some other alternatives. And I know some people might not have this available, but some may, because it's become very popular, especially with the jelly prints, or yeah, I think that's what they're called. It's deli paper. Yes, it is very thin, and you can use it as tracing paper. The other option, which is the most economical and easiest accessible, if you have a Dollar Tree, is parchment paper. It's, as you can see, it's semi-transparent also, but the problem is you're working with the curl, so that there is a downfall to the upfall. Next, you'll need markers, doesn't matter what kind, and I would also include a pen, any pen, because you need it for their basically ballpoint, not a felt tip. you need it for the tip because you're going to be pressing in. You can also use a stylus. I've heard that people suggest to make it a dry pen, but you don't really necessarily need it to be dry. A graphite pencil. These are two different types. This is your basic one. This is a woodless one. It doesn't matter. Mechanical pencil is probably not the best idea because you're doing a lot of shading or scribbling, and imagine that with the thin lead of a mechanical pencil. Then you will need low tack tape. The options for low tack tape are low tack tape, washi tape. If you have masking tape, you can pull a piece off of the pretend this is masking tape, piece off of it and just do it on your shirt or your pants, and it'll take some of the stickiness because some of the fabric fuzz will sit on it, and you can use that. You just don't want it to tear your paper because you'll be using it to position only. You'll be throwing it away later. And that's it pretty much for the supplies. This is optional, an eraser if your pencil doesn't have an eraser, but this one does. So let's get into the technique, the steps on how to do it. I am going to rotate the camera down, and then we're going to go through it, and it's so simple. You're basically making graphite paper, and graphite paper can be pricey at like Hobby Lobby, but you can do it with this. So let's get into it. Before we begin tracing, I want to show you the different types of tracing paper that I used. This is regular tracing paper. And this is the deli paper. I kind of messed up right there, but that was my doing, not the deli paper. And this is the parchment paper. You can see this is the most difference. And you can see it's lighter, and because it did beat up. But just let it dry and don't, smudge with it. And you can get away with using a Crayola marker, or you can use a Sharpie. But those are the differences. And there's really not much difference, really, because it doesn't really matter how dark this is, because it will work just the same. All right, let's get into the tracing. Pick your image. We've already done that. We're going to use the deli paper for tutorial purposes. Lay it down on your image, get your marker, and all you do is just trace over the thick black lines. It's that easy peasy. Instead of watching me trace this, I've already completed one. Is this one right here. So this one's completed. Our next step is to flip it over and turn it into the graphite paper that I've been talking about. And I mentioned you have two options. I have two options. There's more options. There's even the carpenter pencils, which have the square leads. Pretty much all you do is just take your pencil and rub on the back wherever there's lines. I mean, you don't have to rub up here because that'd be silly. And you'll end up just getting smudges on your paper, but pretty much that is all you do. Is rub it until you get all the lines covered on the back. And instead of watching me do that, I've already done it for you. So here we go. As you can see, it's all covered. And it is all drawn. We're going to take our substrate. We're going to pick a page in it. And we're going to put it down. And this part is probably not optional, which you may think it is, because this stuff does shift, because it is slick. So you put your low tack tape somewhere on your paper. You get your ink pen. This is why you want the ballpoint, basically, and you just retrace around your image. And I'll show you what it is doing. It is transferring your graphite onto your substrate. Don't worry about the smudges, we will clean that up. Like I mentioned before, I'm not going to make you watch me do that. I've already got it done for you. Oops. This is a good reason why to have the tape down. You want to make sure you traced everything. And I know, because I've already peeked, I'm missing a section. I'm missing this section right here. Since the tape is down, I can line it back up. I can get my pen. I can then trace this back. And then I can check. And there we go. And we can peel this off because we are done. And we can take our eraser, clean up the smudges. We can make our lines crisper. For some reason this eraser does not want to work. Let's try this eraser. Just clean up and make our lines just a little bit more sturdy. And we have our image on our substrate. That is all there is to it. Now I want to share some other tips and tricks. Because left and right gets all crazy, I'm just going to label it A and B. She's looking off to B. Ignore that I smudged that. You want her to look, but you want her to look off to A. There is an easy way to do that. It's one extra step. Instead of doing the step where we drew her and then we flipped it over and we did the graphite, we flip her over. Let me move this out of the way. And we take our marker and we just go over it. We retrace it. We're tracing the lines that we had already drawn earlier. And once again, I'm not going to make you watch me do this because it's very boring. And then you'll get something like this. This is our original drawing. This is our new drawing with her now looking at A instead of B. You see? So we're looking at A instead of looking at B. Now this is your top part. As opposed to this used to be our top. This is our top. So what we need to do is go back to our graphite pencil, go back to the back, and start shading in where the lines are. And then we go back to this part. We tape it on, and then we draw it over it. And that is how you get her to go be looking in this direction. What if you wanted to not draw something, you know, leave something out? Easy peasy breezy, right? Go back to the original picture. And we were drawing this, right? This time, instead of her holding this little clamshell, we're not going to draw it. We're just going to have her hand empty, like in this picture. She could be holding a ball. So you just don't draw it basically. And then you could flip it over. You use your graphite and you rub it and then you tape it on to your substrate and then you do the pen. Now I'm going to give you a little cheating. There is a way to skip all this tracing nonsense, the tracing paper nonsense. Let's say you found an image on the internet, a color page perhaps. You printed it. You have no desire to keep the original. And you can use Word. You can flip it like I did here. She's looking B. She's looking at A. These images aren't the best, sorry. But you have no plans on ever keeping this again. Instead of taking the tracing paper and sticking it on top and then taking the marker and trace over it, you don't have to do all that nonsense because you can just flip it over First, you decide which way you want her. If you want her looking this way, you use this one. If you want her looking this way, you use this one. You flip it over. You take your graphite, and this is going to be a little harder to see, and you just rub it on the back. You might have to do the general area. You just rub it until you know you have every single section covered, because if you don't have some of that covered, it will not transfer. Duh. You just keep on scribbling, make sure you have a nice coat, and then you just, when you're finished, we're going to pretend that we're finished, you go back like to this, your substrate, you tape it on with your low-tech tape, and then you take your pen and you just trace it like you do before. You check it, make the corrections, and when you're done, you pull it off. Here's a word about Word. I like using it when I do not have access to a graphics program. I do have a personal graphics program, but sometimes I'm using another computer. I don't have access, but I have access to Word. Word will do some basic editing on pictures. You can size it to the size you want. You can actually take the background out if you think it's necessary. You can flip it horizontally, and in the notes I'll tell you how I did it for, I think it's 2013. Please don't ask me how to do it in your program, because I would have to be sitting in front of it, and it's probably fairly close to the same instructions. I just encourage you to play with Word and insert an image, stretch it, see how it changes, and do the horizontal. I used to personally call this mirror, but now they're calling it horizontal. To each his own, right? Well, that is it for this tutorial. I hope you found this video useful. Like I said earlier in the video, there will hopefully be a PDF on my blog, and I will leave that link in the description box. I will definitely put the notes in the description box and on my blog, so you can just copy and paste if you want to. Please forgive my grammar. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, please leave them in the comment box, and I'll be sure to get back to them when I'm able to. Don't forget to hit the like button if you like this video. Please share it and hit the subscribe button to see how we will use this technique in other projects. I have a great tutorial, and I've never seen anybody do this with shoe polish, of all things. That will be in the future. I do not know when. I might use the mermaids. I'm thinking about maybe Halloween with a spooky house, maybe just houses in general. I don't know. But yes, the main ingredient is shoe polish. But you will be definitely using this technique. So until the next video, stay calm and art on.